It's nice to see so many friendly faces, and I know that many are online as well watching us. Today's February 8th. This is the second board meeting of this calendar year, and it's nice to see my fellow commissioners as well. We have an exciting agenda with several updates today. I look forward to hearing those. So if you please join me, we'll start off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Mr. Thompson, please do roll call.
Chair Maisha Gamino.
Here.
Vice Chair Lori Durbin. Board Member Ara Masurlian.
Here.
Board Member Mickey DiPaolo.
Here.
Board Member Ashley Ramsey. And noted that Board Member Ashley Ramsey and Vice Chair Lori Durbin are absent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chad. And can we have Crystal share announcements? Crystal, can you say your first and last name for me, please?
Crystal Karakash.
Karakash, thank you so much.
Good evening, Chair Maisha Gamino and members of the board. Thank you to everyone joining us this evening. My name is Crystal Karakash, Facility Attendant in the Park and Recreation Department. Tonight, I have the pleasure of sharing the department's program announcements and updates. Please begin the slideshow. Story Owl Hour. Join us for our next story time at Stowe Canyon Nature Center. Story Owl Hour is perfect for ages 2 to 5 interested in nature-related topics. Participants will enjoy a staff-led story and can check out books at the end of story time. Spaces are limited, so register today at www.burbankparks.com. I'll bet it'll be a hoot. Burbank City Parks Master Plan. The City of Burbank, in collaboration with RJM Design Group, is conducting a City Parks Master Plan. This master plan will guide parks and recreation development now and in the future. If you are interested in getting involved and providing your feedback, visit www.burbankca.gov/cityparksmasterplan. Burbank Adaptive Sports Expo, also known as BASE. Step into the world of adaptive sports at the 2024 Adaptive Sports Expo. This dynamic expo is taking place at McCambridge Park on February 17, 2024. Participating sports include adaptive chair yoga, adaptive swimming, beep baseball, and much more. To learn more about the featured sports and to register, visit www.burbankca.gov/base. Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center Gallery Show. Our latest gallery, Invasive Species, features work from artist Matthew Kramer. His art aims to show our human imprint on the environment. Admission is free and available Monday to Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., or Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center. Moonlight hikes are back. Join us on our next staff-led hike up to The View. Hike times vary based on sunset times. Visit burbankparks.com to register today. Call for artists. Calling all artists! The City of Burbank is currently searching for the talented individuals to participate in a special project that will be showcased at Johnny Carson Park. This is a great opportunity for artists to showcase their skills and creativity. If you are interested in learning more about this exciting opportunity, please visit www.burbankca.gov/call-for-artists. Burbank Clippers Day. The Burbank Parks and Recreation Department welcomes residents, friends, and family to the annual Clippers Night. Purchase tickets online at www.clippersgroups.com/Burbank while supplies last. Burbank Dig Days. Seeking volunteers for our next Burbank Dig Day. Help us keep our parks beautiful and thriving. Our next available volunteer date is March 2nd from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Visit burbankca.gov/digburbank to sign up today or to find out more about our Dig Day program. Summer Days. Summer Days registration is right around the corner. To find out how to prepare for registration and to gain access to useful tips and tricks, visit burbankca.gov/camps. Now hiring work trainee. Our summer programs are hiring. If you love the outdoors and have a desire to give back to the community, we have a rewarding opportunity waiting for you. To learn more and to apply, call 818-238-5655 5390. 311 Animal Services. The Our Burbank 311 app has expanded its capabilities to include Burbank Animal Shelter service requests. This app makes it easier than ever to report wildlife sightings, submit pet noise complaints, report lost or found pets, and more. Available for download on the Apple app and Google Play stores or online at 311.burbankca.gov. Dick Clark Dog Park. Join us for an exciting update on the progress of the Dick Clark Dog Park construction. The Parks and Recreation Department invites you to an informational meeting where you will be the first to learn about the latest updates. Discover the features that will make this dog park a possum addition to our community. To learn more, visit burbankca.gov/parksandrec. Burbank Animal Shelter. The Burbank Animal Shelter low-cost vaccine clinic has resumed. Take advantage of low-cost vaccines and affordable microchips for your pets, dogs, and cats. Call us at 818-238-3340 to secure an appointment or visit burbankca.gov/animal shelter. Open to Burbank and non-Burbank residents. Follow us. Stay in the loop with the latest Parks and Rec updates by connecting with us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you. This concludes the department announcements.
I love your energy. That was excellent. We have one question from one of our commission members.
Quick question about the summer days. I saw the pre-registration is the 20th. Is that just for summer days, or does that also include the specialty camps like the roller derby and all that stuff?
I believe that's just the summer days.
Just the
for right
summer
now.
days. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good job.
guys.
Thank you. Okay, and I see that there are no presentations for this part of the agenda. Is there a department director report? Ms. Garcia.
Good evening, Chair Gamino and board members. There was no update.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for public comment. So for members of the public who are here in person and wish to speak, please present a completed yellow general public comment card to the recording secretary. Any person speaking during general public comment may address the board on any matter related to Parks and Recreation Board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. In order to promote fairness, please stay within your maximum allotted time of 3 minutes. A timer is available on the podium to help the speaker keep track of how much time is left. Please state your name for the record before speaking. I also encourage any members of the public to call in during our general public comment period. You can do this by dialing 818-238-3335. Again, 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV and computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your public comment. So at this time, we'll start with any in-person comments. Are there any in-person comments? Being none, we will see if there's any online or that have called in. Megan, are there any online?
We have no phone comments.
Thank you so much for confirming that we have no public comments at this time. So seeing that there's no speakers, we will now close public comment period. Next are any written communications. Ms. Garcia, are there any written communications?
Yes, there was one piece of written communication that was received, and it has been provided to the board, and it's a comment regarding agenda item number 2.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We had the opportunity. I had the opportunity to look at it. Sounds like we did. Yes, we all had the opportunity to look at it. Okay. Park Board, do you have any comments or any updates that you would like to share? Okay. Being none, we'll move on to new business. Looking forward to this, the next few updates. Can I please ask Ms. Lev to join us to share an update on the roller hockey rink?
All right. Good evening, Chair Gamino and members of the board. Jennifer Lev, Recreation Manager over Sports and Aquatics. Myself, along with the roller hockey rink providers Scott Floman and Dave, will be presenting here today the PMI Roller Hockey Rink Annual Report. The city entered into an agreement in December of 2017 with PIM to lease and operate the roller hockey rink, also known as the LA Kings Burbank Sports Center. We are currently in the first agreement extension, which will continue through January of 2028. As a part of their agreement, PIM, along with the city, worked together to outline facility improvements. operational and programmatic goals and objectives, which is evaluated on a yearly basis. PIM is in compliance with its facility upgrades, program offerings, extended special event offerings, and operational upgrades. For this reporting period, PIM has paid $25,587 in fixed rent. As stated in the agreement, the monthly gross revenue payment has increased by 3% this year, or 2023 year, totaling a 6% gross revenue that continues throughout the duration of this contract and will be charged in the event that the quarterly gross revenue exceeds the fixed monthly rent. On November 1st of 2023, under the terms of the agreement with PIM, the city enacted a promissory note with PIM in the amount of $26,200. PIM is obligated to repay the loan in full with a yearly interest of 3% of the payment amount. The loan repayments are scheduled to be made to the city in 4 equal payments, annual installments, starting on November 2024 through November of 2027. In the amount of $6,746.50. This repayment plan aligns with the terms and conditions outlined in the promissory note of the agreement. The promissory note was activated to make improvements to the surface of the court. The court resurfacing is still ongoing and is anticipated to be completed in the spring of 2024. At this time, I will turn over the presentation to Mr. Floman to share with you the highlights of the LA Kings Sports Center offerings from this past year. Please join me.
Hello, everyone. How we doing?
Good.
I'm actually going to let Dave speak because he's had his hands in almost everything of that we got that's new going on. So, fire
Sure.
away.
My name is David Sirianni, Scott's Floman's business partner. And we're excited about a lot of new programming that we have going on for over at the Burbank Sports Center. We just recently signed a deal with AYSO Burbank, which is McCon. He's the coach over at Burroughs High School. And we're now bringing in a youth futsal program to the rink. We've already started weekly practices. Games are on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's in the works, and it looks like the first game is scheduled for early March. Going to do like a 10-week trial program. Right now we have 6 to 8 girls teams, so we're going to focus on 8 and under and 10 and under girls. And they seem to really love it, so I think it's something that's going to catch on rather quickly. So it's going to be another program that we're going to be able to offer at the rink. As some of you may know, we during COVID, we started roller skating programs there, and we do theme nights and different roller skating events, and it has just taken off crazy. The community has really embraced it. We now have skating school on Sundays. We have workshops on Wednesdays, midweek, for kids and adults. And then our hockey program numbers are pretty consistent with from season to season with our adult and youth roller hockey. Unfortunately, we only do a youth roller hockey program in the spring. That's going to start mid-March. Just doesn't seem like we have enough time in the day to kind of fit everything in on weekends, and so many kids are playing ice hockey these days, so it's kind of hard to compete with that. So we do a spring league for our youth roller hockey league, and then let's see what else. We offer different ball hockey for youth and adult, different clinics on weekends, and we also just signed a deal with a program called NHL Street Hockey. The NHL is reaching out to local communities and a lot of kids that don't know how to skate. They're trying to push a program. A lot of kids want to play hockey because they don't know how to skate. They're doing a street hockey program. So we're involved with that.
Define street hockey so they know.
Street hockey, no skating involved, tennis shoes, elbow pads, helmet, gloves.
Same
stick.
game.
Same game, referees, everything, just no skating involved. So, yeah, we're excited. That's kind of
Roller derby.
where we're at. Roller derby, we still do our roller derby, and someone mentioned earlier about the summer camp. Los Anarchy is one of our tenants, and they do a spring and summer camp with the Park and Rec. So we're excited to have a part of them be a part of us as well. So, any questions? Sure.
Yeah, my daughters have done the roller derby camp for the last 2 summers, and they have a blast. They love it. So
That's great.
good job on that.
Thank you.
My question is, in terms of capital improvements, I don't mean to open a can of worms here or anything, and I don't even know if it's feasible or doable, but just throwing it out there. Have you guys ever thought of, and I don't even know if it makes sense, but potentially a snack shack or even a dedicated restroom for the rink as opposed to having to go use the public park restroom? So like a restroom just for people that are using the roller hockey rink. I don't think I've seen that or noticed it, so curious about those two things.
I can answer. So as far as Snack Shack, we can't serve prepared food because there's not a commercial kitchen. We would need to put in floor drains, and it would, roughly to build and put a whole thing could be, $250,000, 350,000. Financially, it wouldn't make sense to do something like that. And then as far as the restrooms go, we would be completely open to possibly doing like a porta potty, because obviously bringing plumbing to that part of the park would be outrageous. But if Park and Rec would be willing to, we could figure out something with portable bathrooms, we would definitely be open to something along those lines and like to work with you with that.
Do you have one?
Didn't we just recently put a newly renovated restroom at Boy Park? Not that long ago, right? Or no? I know they did over by the playground area. That was maybe 5-6 years ago. Thought they already did something with the.
No, it's still the same park restrooms. What I was going to add and mention is that.
But didn't they remodel or did something to enhance the restrooms themselves?
I don't recall that we've done anything in the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
There was
they did.
There was some plumbing work
Yeah,
that was done. There were some plumbing issues. What I was going to add is that these are really great comments. Adding restrooms or renovating restrooms, as we launched our city park wide master plan. These are fantastic comments and input that would be very appropriate to be included in this process. Absolutely, yes.
Right. I think it's great that for the young people that can't skate or don't have maybe can't afford the skates, that street hockey program is great. We used to do that at the parks years ago with the plastic, and that was one of our big things. We take the whole gym and play floor hockey, we called it. And the kids had a lot of fun. So I think it's good that you guys are reaching out to other groups and, trying to maximize the use of the facility there. And I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
But your adult activities are a little, as far as the numbers go, they're a little bigger than the youth, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your presentation. I was also going to commend you on the street hockey. I think that's I know you've been doing it, and I really appreciate it because it makes it accessible.
Thank you.
Yeah, along with the training that you have if anyone wants to learn how to skate and join that later on. So thank you for that. I do have a quick question about the resurfacing. Which programs are impacted while the resurfacing takes place?
None, actually.
Okay.
We're just trying to find a week of dry weather where, I'm sorry. We're just, so all of the resurfacing companies that we've reached out to, we're just actually need a week or 5 days of warm weather where what they apply, the product, we'll get our best results out of it. And as you know, the weather has just been horrendous for like the past 3 weeks. So we're trying to schedule something like first week of March, weather permitting.
Okay, so far all the programs are running.
Oh,
as
yeah, everything's
usual.
been great.
Excellent, wonderful.
yeah.
That was my only question. Thank you.
Sorry.
Board Member Marcillian.
I have one more question. So I know it's called the LA Kings Burbank Sports Center. What type of, what's like besides the name, like what's the correlation with the Kings? Like, for example, in the off season, when the NHL season's done, is there anything where like one or two of the Kings players come out, they do a skate day with them, and then you get the public out? Is there anything like that, like to get people out and?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've gotten Bailey, which is the mascot, to come out, and we've done like kids' days. I don't know if we have any pictures up of it, but we have brought that, and we're going to try and do that again over the summertime to try and bring some of they call the ice crew to come out, and basically we have a branding contract, so a branding partnership with the Kings, as well as one of the things that we're starting to work that what you guys had talked about, possibly putting together a special needs program, because the Kings they are involved with a few other, like sled hockey and a few other things. So we would like to, because Dave and I actually used to work with the team out of our ice hockey rink, a special needs team. And so we'd actually like, for this year in 2024, we'd like to try and figure out how we can do that. We'll carve some time, and hopefully the Kings will help us and be a part of that to start something that's totally different. And we would do a ball hockey, so that teach people how to play with tennis shoes without skates.
No? Okay. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you,
report.
guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The next item on the agenda is the Dick Clark Dog Park Design Update. And Ms. Garcia.
Yes, good evening again. I will have a very brief introduction before I invite Mr. Del Campo up. So as the board and staff and community may recall, the city has been working on developing a dog park in our community for well over 26 years. And most recently in 2015, our department really did very extensive community outreach. And at that point, we were lucky enough to be creative and work with our consultants to identify a location, which is at Johnny Carson Park, the area just south of the 134 freeway, so between the 134 freeway and Riverside Drive. And that location was identified as the most ideal site for a dog park. Additionally, through our extensive community engagement, we heard from the community as what amenities they wanted to see in a dog park. A few years later, in 2019, we were lucky enough to be approached by Miss Carrie Clark, the widow of Dick Clark, who was interested in partnering with the city. So in 2020, the city council accepted a $150,000 sponsorship donation from the Carrie and Dick Clark Foundation. At that time, the council also approved a naming agreement where this dog park would be named the Dick Clark Dog Park. 2 years later, in 2022, staff provided this board an update on the dog park, and staff also provided some very general conceptual renderings of what the placement of the dog park would be. At that time, the board selected one rendering and provided staff with some feedback on what amenities the board would like to see in this dog park. Last year, we worked with one of our on-call consultants, which we selected RJM, to really take all the feedback from the community, from the board and staff, and really start designing this dog park. And this evening, we're really excited to present to the board some conceptual renderings for the board's question and consideration. And ultimately, our request for the board this evening is for the board to select an option that we will then be presenting to the community at our upcoming community meetings, and really refining these the rendering and the dog park, and we can move forward with going out to bid and finally building our dog park later this year. So with that, I will introduce Mike Del Campo, our Assistant Director, who is managing this project, and he'll share with you the three different options. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. How are you guys today? Mike Del Campo, Parks and Rec. Good to see you. Let me see how this works. There it is. The Dick Clark Dog Park design. That's a fun name to say. So, as Ms. Garcia said, we had RGM do some updated renderings to the conceptual plan we gave you. It's basically the exact same footprint. It's altered a little bit. It's more detail. All the amenities are added, what the community wanted, and we still try to keep it within our budget. But what the community wanted wasn't really in our budget, so we are finding creative ways to make this happen, because the two options A and B are basically identical, and which I'll show you, and one's turf and one's a loose fill, and I can describe the difference between those two. And then the third option is the one that will be in our budget, but it's pretty bare minimum. So I mean, it's basically a fence and some open space. So I'm not pushing in that one at all. I'd prefer for you guys to go with A or B, but that's me. So here's our design, option A. As you can see, there's 20 different types of amenities there. That's the turf. So that's the whole inside of that dog park will be, well, about 80 to 90% of it will be turf, and the where it comes down to a finger to a point, that's underneath the LA power tower out there. So LA County Water and Power is going to, DW Water and Power is going to be reviewing this, and they might have some suggestions. So if there are any tweaks, we're going to have to buy what they want. But RJM has worked with LA before, and they know what they require and what they want. So this design should work. But that's a should. It still went with the LA Water and Power, so they could have a bad day and say not, but this should be fine. It's got dog tunnels. It's got different sections for a large dog. So if you've got big dogs, if you don't want your little dog to play with the big dogs, it's going to have a small dog area. Each of these areas is going to be fenced off, so you can have that exclusion. You can't exclude the big dogs, just have your own dog by itself, but actually in the individual dog area, you can, we were hoping to have that set up where if you wanted to do some dog training, have an event, you could actually rent that area while the rest of the dog park is open for public use. There's also some seating areas, a bunch of trees, ADA pathways. It's amazing. It's going to be one that's going to be a star in the whole Southern California area. So keep going. So B is dog park option B. Exact same thing, but this is it's got loose fill, and instead of turf, it's got this loose fill material. It's basically a 70% sand, 30% pea gravel. Dogs love it. I've personally had my 3 dogs before they passed on. They used it in other dog parks, and they love it. Dogs can dig in it. When they urinate and defecate in it, it doesn't hold the smell. It's easy to wash off. With the turf, if we go. When you have the turf, then one of the natural consequences of turf, it looks nice for the first couple of weeks or a month, and once the dogs get on it, it starts getting destroyed. So we'd have to periodically, routinely shut down sections of it. The loose fill wouldn't happen. You wouldn't get the smell. You wouldn't get the turf doesn't smell too bad, but the areas get destroyed and they can rot. So it would also save us on irrigation, watering, and maintenance. It's same pathway, same ADA accessible, all the shade structures. So it's the exact same thing except for a different, same price tag, different feature on the infill, either turf first, loose fill. So, and you guys can ask questions after about that stuff. Here's the overall bird's eye view of it, which is absolutely stunning. You could see it's got a promenade down at the bottom of it. That's where people will come in out of the parking lot to enter the dog park. There's going to be double gated, so you go into the dog park, you let your dog off leash inside the first gate, and then you open the second gate and let him run free or her run free and get crazy. There'll be one for the large dogs and one for the small dog park as well. So there's going to be a total of 2 gates, and then that's the overall scheme of it. It didn't work. Here's the nice picture of the promenade coming off the parking lot. It's going to kind of have some. It's going to have the sign, and then it's going to have the low water, drought tolerant landscaping. That water fountains will be located outside of the dog play areas, due to the fact that when you keep the water inside, the dogs get into the water and they clog the drinking fountains, a lot of issues, so we're going to keep the water fountains outside. It's an easy right around the gate to get there. It'll also keep them, more sanitary. So if someone doesn't want to drink out of the same water bowl someone's dog did, I do, but look at me, so I'm not that sanitary. So it's one of those seating benches, and we have another thing we can do, which would be nice in this promenade in the future. These are permeable pavers, so we could actually have a program where we could sell individual blocks, and people could get them personalized, to memorize their dogs, family members, whatever. So it's a good thing we can do in the future. But once again, these are permeable pavers, so the water will be going back into the water table. Another view of the dog park on the outside coming in. So no, that's the big dog park inside. As you can see, most of the trees have landscaping or fences around them, just so the trees don't get damaged by dogs, by play, by people. But there's going to be tons of rocks that dogs can jump on, utilize, have fun with. Individual seating areas, and it's stunning. Another option another picture of the large dog park area. You can see in the back behind the person in the red shirt, there are some agility things the dogs can play with. So it's a great design. I'm really proud of it. This is the small dog area. So for the little fellas and gals that want to have their own space, and that's right there. That's going to be in between the parking lot and the freeway. That's just kind of so you're oriented on where that's at. And this is going to be down other side of the park. Again, shade structures, trees, landscaping, and all that fun stuff. And dog park option C. So it's the same thing. As you can see, though, down towards the finger, it's a little smaller due to the fact that that extra dog park area won't have the amenities. It'll be just some drought-tolerant landscaping, but you can see it's quite a bit smaller than the first two down at the very bottom here. A lot less trees, none of the features, none of the amenities. A few of the shade structures are taken out. A lot of the benches and cafe tables are taken out. The promenade will stay the same, and the parking lot will stay the same, but you're basically losing a lot of features that I'm sure the people of Burbank would love to have. So, in conclusion, real quickly, hope I didn't go too fast, but I'm here to answer questions. Personally, I really like option B. Like I said, I've dealt with that. My dogs loved it. They can dig in it. They're not going to be making holes in the turf. They're not going to be killing the turf. It has no smell. It's easy to wash off. It's easy to maintain. And there's some worry that it could get a little hot on the hot days, but it doesn't get that hot enough to hurt their paws. And like I said, from personal opinion and use, that the dogs love it. They actually love this loose fill. The turf does look nice for the first couple months, but then it'll look like a dog park with turf. So we're gonna have to shut some off, and we're gonna lose some play area as we rotate different sections. So I really like A and B, either or, but the B is a much nicer feature as I've done maintenance with dog parks. Questions? And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Campo. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Board Member Marsilian.
What are the anticipated hours of the dog park? Because I didn't see anything about lights. Will there be lights? Not little lights?
Yes.
Okay.
So, sorry. Yeah, there was lights on the in the amenities when you view the things. But so the same. It'll be from 6:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, so plenty of light for
Correct.
be safe and everything. Okay.
Right, and then with option C, there won't be any lighting. Is there? I don't think so.
Minimal.
Minimal.
We'll be reducing the lighting, but the plan is to keep the dog park open, our typical park hours.
Board Member DiPaolo.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the presentation, Mike.
Oh, my pleasure.
The option B, now the turf it's not no kind of grass or anything, just the pebbles and.
Option B, yes, it's a 70% sand, 30% pea gravel, and it's the dogs just love it.
Yeah.
They can dig, and then it fills back in.
And that A is where if they did some other kind of turf, there would be kind of an odor there, or
there potentially could be, because you have to water it, so
Right.
you're going to have turf. So the turf is going to die due to just the use, and the dogs urinate on it. We'll kill the turf periodically in spots. If you've seen, if you have a dog in your backyard, or if you see dog parks with turf, you have to shut them down just so the turf can heal and redo. And when you're watering like that and overwatering, you could get that stagnant type. It's with the loose fill, you're gonna get that urine. It's gonna go down, and once or twice a week we'll run irrigation just to overspray everything and wash everything down. And we got to water the other plants as well.
Now the option B, there's very little water or watering, if there's watering at all, except the plants is hardly any watering, right?
Right. They're going to have actually have drip irrigation to them,
Right,
so it's going
right.
to be spot-specific irrigation. But we'll run the irrigation probably once or twice a week, just for sanitary reasons.
Sure. And the parking, that is on the facility itself?
Yes.
Because I just saw one comment that said it might take up too much room, but I wouldn't recommend having just parking on Riverside. That's not good.
I totally understand that comment. There's tons of parking on Riverside, but as we all know, sometimes when you pull into a place with a dog or a kid, you might be on your cell phone or not paying attention, and your kiddo or your doggo goes running. The parking lot's going to give them another safer spot to unload the family and Reagan it. So,
Definitely.
I mean, yes, that's how I feel about the parking lot. And the parking lots can serve for parking in that whole neighborhood too. Across the street, there's the other extension of the Johnny Carson Park along the river.
Right.
So, which is a need for parking. And Carson itself doesn't really have parking on the other side of the freeway.
Right.
So it's going to provide some parking for events when that new with the stage is going on there. If we do move a shade structure for that to cover that stage and start programming that. So the park's got some big vision for it.
Right. And how many spaces in the park?
26.
26.
Yeah, and 2 ADAs, I believe.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mike.
That's pretty nice, huh?
It's beautiful. Thank you.
So option A or B, guys.
First, I want to thank the Clark family for their generous
Definitely.
donation and their foundation for making this gift to the city. I think that's going to create such an opportunity for us to come together as a community and have our dogs play together. So I'm really excited about this.
It was interesting talking to her too when she was donating. I didn't realize that they were such dog fanatics. I think she said Dick had like 7 dogs.
I did not know that.
So.
So this is really meaningful for their family.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we get
I don't know if it was all at one time, but
right. But at least they had 7. They had 7 family furry family members, and I'm glad that we're able to honor that legacy with all of our dogs when we go visit. So that's great. I have a question about the loose fill. Do we use that at any other public or park facility?
Not in Burbank.
Okay.
Not in Burbank.
Okay. As you were describing it, I thought that we did, but then when you started saying that fills back in,
It's very similar to. It's kind of like. I mean, like I said, 70% sand, 30% pea gravel. So I could see maybe thinking like decomposed granite.
Okay.
After decomposed granite gets chewed up after a while.
Okay.
But this won't compact as much.
Okay.
So I mean, plus with the dogs and people walking on it, and
Right. Sounds very interesting.
it's organic.
Yeah.
It's
I
sand
like
and
that.
rocks.
I really like that. I noticed, I heard quite a bit about the natural materials, less water, ability to pick up waste, stays clean,
And
shade.
Denver County uses it, they love it, but they have snow, so that's why they love it, because it drains.
Okay.
But doing the research on this dog park, RJM contacted Denver per my suggestion, and like that's the only thing they said. Sometimes it can get too hot, but I lived out in Denver for 9 years, and my dogs never got too hot on it. So I mean, it takes maybe Palm Springs
Okay.
might do it, but not here. It's not going to be.
Okay, that's really good feedback to hear. And you mentioned the pavers where possibly people put their name on it.
It's an eventual plan that if people want a program we want to do, because you've seen that before, like at baseball
Yes.
parks or soccer parks, you can just do. But it might be a good thing to raise some money to support the dog park, and
Oh, good. So it's not part of a fundraising plan right now. It's just a potential.
it's a potential option to do.
Okay, that's really good to hear. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate the listening to the community. While I appreciate all options, I mean, it's clear that that these sketches were designed with a community in mind. When we talked about this last time, maybe a year ago, with the shade structures and the plenty of seating and making sure it's safe and the separate dog parks for the small and the large dogs. I just got a large dog for the first time. I've always had little small ones, and so now I
Congratulations.
understand. Thank you. But now I understand why they need to be separate. They definitely play very different, and so I appreciate that the community was kept in mind. And so I could only vote for something that the community really asked for. I do understand that there's a fiscal challenge, though. Maybe can you walk us through because I understand option C doesn't have everything the community asked for. There's significant differences. However, it's what we can afford. So what's the plan to bridge that gap?
Well, as you saw
That
with
might
the
be
option
Miss
C,
Christie.
there's
Okay.
going to be a lot less shade structures,
Okay,
a lot less seating,
okay.
and a lot less planting.
How can we afford option B or A? Can, Ms. Garcia?
Yes, sorry, I am pulling up.
Sorry about that.
So no, not at all. So just briefly, we were a little bit, myself, primarily, our goal from the very beginning was to try to pay for this dog park using other people's money, right?
Okay.
Started with LADWP when they were doing their project utilizing our land. We got some money from them in the amount of just about $370,000, right? So that was like our starting, starting point. We then got the sponsorship, the $150,000. We then were successful, applied for a grant, and got an additional just under $244,000. So we're feeling really good. And our initial conceptual designs, we're feeling really confident. And then right in the middle of this, right, COVID happened, and we know what happened to prices. And then that being said, with looking at other, features, right, we wanted lighting, which wasn't necessarily something that we had really contemplated. With the animal shelter coming to Park and Rec, right, we look at things a little bit differently. And that promenade, right, it's big, it's spacious. The pavers is something that we can do similar to the Walk of Fame, right, where but that promenade can allow us to do some programming or adoption, host adoption events or other events that the animal shelter can support, something that can support our animal shelter. That being said, we did allocate just over $710,000 from development impact fee funds. So those are monies that we get from developers. When they're going to develop in the city, they have some fees that they have to pay because they're developing in the city. There's going to be impacts to our community, and so there's just about $450,000 of city money, of taxpayer money, that currently is being earmarked or has been earmarked for this project. So as we looked at the current cost estimates, so as, don't know, we it's in the staff report, didn't really cover it in our presentations, but options 1 and 2 is about $600,000 over our budget. And as obviously Mr. Del Campo has dogs, and he's very familiar with dog parks, and most of our staff have dogs. I don't, but I know that, from as a community member, as a park and rec director, I want to make sure that when we build a dog park that the community's been asking for over 25 years, that we do it right. So we've been looking at other funding sources. We do have some additional development impact fee dollars that have not been allocated. So that's our initial plan, is to utilize, again, development impact fee dollars. And if we need some additional, 534 funds, which is basically from Measure P, which is an additional tax increment, we will ask for that funding. But I am... I don't feel like asking the council through the budget process for an appropriation of $600,000 to make this amazing project come to fruition is an unrealistic ask. And seeing especially that we already have $1 million that is coming from grants or other people's money is, I think half of that money or over half of the money we've been able to gather through other resources. And I think it's a really fantastic, success to us in the community, so.
Thank you for that clarification. I do appreciate your team also looking for other resources and having successfully received those resources to make that happen for the community. I think it's really important, so thank you for that. Mr. Mercerlian.
So just for clarity, so if, thank you for all that, but so hypothetically, if we chose option A or B, we have that 600,000, or we'd have to, would it delay the project until that 600,000 is found, or what, sorry, I missed, maybe I didn't quite get the clarity on that.
So currently our budget, we have our current project is budgeted at $1.9 million. We've already expensed money to the conceptual architect, right? So we have about $1.8 million that we have currently to pay towards the construction. We still have a little bit of work left to do before we go out to bid. During that time, we have the budget process. And during that budget process is when we'll be going to council to ask for the additional money. I know that we have development impact fee dollars that have not been allocated, that we've not earmarked for another project, that I will be asking that those dollars be earmarked to this project. Or we can ask for funding from the city's, general fund that we can, or from our capital improvement project fund through that. But yes, to your point, we will be asking council for an additional $600,000 to move forward with either option A or B. We need council's approval for those dollars. Sure.
So appreciate that, and hopefully everything works out and council approve, everything works.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, again, should they not, is there a happy medium between option C, which is the really bare bones version, and let's say option B? Is there a slightly tamed down option B that could potentially reduce the 600 by X amount to then make it potentially more realistic if council doesn't approve that? Or is there little things that can be adjusted that might drop it by half of it, by 50%, or anything like that?
Absolutely. We would go, we would be looking at, so if we go to council and say, hey, the project is as designed, it's $2.4 million, we're short 600,000, and if they say that's great, we're only going to approve $300,000, then we would go back, work with our architect to reduce some amenities, right? Whether that is currently options A and B have the parking lot as paved parking, right? Maybe that's a GG parking lot. Maybe we remove some amenities, fewer trees, fewer benches. We'll work with our architect to cut that. That was basically, right, when we got the first design, right, we got option A, right? And it's like, here's option A, great, it's designed at $2.4 million. And so when I met with Mr. Del Campo, I'm like, this is fantastic, but our budget is 1.8. So we need to go back to the architect and have them give us a design that's 1.8, because that is a responsible thing to do. And so that's what they did. They went back, they, met with Mr. Del Campo, and they know what the priorities are and really cut the things that were, trees are super important. They cut some trees. They're planting smaller trees instead of like some of the larger trees, like option A and B have some small trees, but also they're proposing to plant larger trees, larger size trees, to have more instant shade. So those are some of the compromises that we would make. So absolutely, if council does not approve the entire, either way, we would be asking for some funding, and whatever we get, we would be working on adjusting to that budget.
Thank you so much. Are there any additional questions? Mr. DiPaolo?
I'm not sure if this was mentioned, as far as going to the LA County Board of Supervisors and asked Supervisor Bargar if there's any that, she could maybe come up with some kind of monetary donation, or is there any, or CPRS or somebody that?
Yeah, so we're currently looking at other funding sources. We also don't want to stall the process too much. So we can certainly, I don't know that we've directly reached out to Supervisor Barger or other elected officials, but we can make those contacts. And if there's a way to get some funding pretty
Election year,
quickly.
so.
Yes.
Any additional questions? Okay. I really like the design. It was beautiful. It was a great presentation. It's going to be such a fantastic add to our community that our neighbors have been asking for years. I love all the features, the shade, the benches. And so I'm really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to us voting on the design concept. Do you have one more question, Member DiPaolo?
Well,
first?
one thing, I would never, as far as if you want to cut costs, and it's going to stay open until 10 p.m., I would never cut back on the lighting. That's way
Lighting's
important.
the number one
Yeah,
cost of that
yeah.
thing, and then the parking lot, and then the fencing.
Right.
So it's like, you can only cut, there's a handful of big ticket items that make up the bulk of that. Fencing's tripled in pricing, pavement's tripled in pricing. Lighting has, as Diego can contest with lights, when he's doing the ballparks, so all this, I'm not making excuses, but these are the three big things that the community wants and are requiring. So to do that and then put an open field just seems kind of like, we could do it, not a problem. But it was like, let's knock it out of the dog park.
Literally.
You like that
I did like that. Well, I mean, we were very clear in learning previously about the vision that the community had for this, and there's certainly these that meet that requirements and what the community asked for. Board members, do you have any other thoughts? Okay. So we need to make a recommendation to select and approve a design concept. Is that correct? Okay. So with that, is this a formal vote? Okay, it is. Okay. Board members, can I have would you like to make a recommendation for concept A, B, or C? Mr. Mercerlian?
I recommend, can I extend on? I recommend option B, for all the reasons that you've stated, and hopefully budgets and everything work out and they can go with it, and great. And if they don't approve option B as is with the budget and there's feedback from council to reduce it by X amount, then I would just work off of the bells and whistles option B and just reduce where needed to get to that budget level. But I would avoid doing the bare bones because they've been asking for this for so long, and it's not going to be easy to build that bare bones and then try to build up from it. So it's better just to do it the right way from the start. So I long way of saying option B with all the bells and whistles, and then tame down as needed if per budget restrictions.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Option
Aye.
B.
Okay. Mr.
Aye.
DiPaolo, do I have an aye for you? Okay. Okay.
Option B.
Thank
We
you.
unanimously agree that option B
Excellent.
is the best choice. Thank you for
Thanks,
presenting
board
to
members.
us
You have a good
and
night.
make the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will mention, I appreciate that. Staff will also be looking at alternative funding, so I can assure you that we will be looking.
We heard that in your presentation too. I'll just thank you for sharing that. I know our role was to simply vote on a design, so thank you for just humoring us and sharing a little bit more about the funding plans. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the budget update for the fiscal year.
Good evening, Chair Gamino, members of the board. Dina Moon, Senior Administrative Analyst, and I'll be presenting the budget update for fiscal year 2024-25. All right. Tonight's presentation will cover the following topics: budget basics, including background, the process and funding breakdown, parameters, deadlines, capital improvement projects, and important dates. The Park and Recreation Department strives to be the heart of the community by providing enriching opportunities through dedicated staff, beautiful parks, and inspiring programs. The department is organized into 4 divisions: administration, facility operations, landscape and forestry services, and community and recreation services. The department also provides a variety of recreational and community programs, including special interest classes, youth and adult sports programs, day camps, after-school programs, nature programs, cultural arts activities, a congregate and home-delivered meal program, aquatics, senior recreation activities, volunteer programs for residents of all ages, and year-round community special events. The annual fiscal year budget planning begins in early January. The budget division of our finance department prepares the annual budget guide, providing detailed instructions and assistance to each department with the preparation of their respective budgets. Altogether, this process takes approximately 8 months. Burbank uses a combined program and line item budget format. This is designed to provide for comprehensive management, control, and financial planning system. The format is aimed at achieving goals and objectives at the operational levels that are consistent with the City Council's policy and annual work program. The budgeting process is generally an incremental one, which starts with a historical-based budget. Requests for changes and appropriations are made at the departmental level and are initially compiled and reviewed by the budget division. The city manager reviews all the requests and ensures that all the budget decisions are in full accordance with stated city council policies and all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations. The Parks and Rec Department has an annual operating budget of $31.9 million and employs nearly 350 people during its peak programming season. The department's budget is comprised of 2 major funding mechanisms, which includes the general fund and the municipal infrastructure fund. This is utilized for infrastructure maintenance and capital improvements, while the general fund supports department's programs and services. This graphic shows a breakdown of all the city's department budgets from our current fiscal year 23-24. And then this next slide shows all of our revenues, the breakdown of revenue sources for the city. And this slide, which is really hard to read, here's a list of all of our budget funds. As mentioned before, the general fund, and municipal infrastructure fund are the department's primary funding sources. The department also utilizes Fund 127 when appropriate, which are generated from development impact fees, which we were just discussing. Prior to the start of the budget process, the city manager reviews the 5-year forecast to set parameters for the new fiscal year. At that time, procedures are established to guide budget staff and other department in their review and submission of budget requests, specifically new positions, upgrades, changes to materials, supplies, and services, referred to as MS&S, capital outlay requests, and capital improvement projects which require special consideration. Our city manager established the following parameters for the fiscal year 24-25, which were comparable to our current fiscal year. Any new or upgraded position requests, MS&S, and capital outlay requests must be supported by enhanced revenues and/or offsetting reductions in other accounts. Estimated revenue enhancements will be counted on a 2-for-1 basis, meaning if a fee is increased and the anticipated revenue from that increase is $60,000, only $30,000 will be allowed to count towards our request. Priority will be given to new budget items that support council and labor initiatives and will ultimately create recurring budget savings or enhanced revenues. Lastly, requests to replace fully depreciated assets will be accepted, which is also referred to as our capital outlay program. Our first budget deadline was January 26th, which included our MS&S new upgrade or position requests and our capital outlay requests. A few of the requests made for our department included funding for a park and play program, Burbank Adaptive Sports Expo, Rockahula and Extravaganza event supplies, aquatic program staffing, summer days expansion, staffing and supplies, expansion of summer sports programming and contract instruction, Burbank Arts Utility Box Beautification Program, Phase 8, funding for mayor's tree lighting and 4th of July fireworks, our contractual obligation increases based on CPI, DeBell Golf Course operations, Starlight Bowl operations, Burbank Animal Shelter operations, nutrition program operations, urban forest master plan, and tree trimming services. Our second deadline is tomorrow, and we'll be submitting budget worksheet updates, budgeted position changes, revenue projections, and fee schedule changes. During the budget cycle, the department has the opportunity to evaluate positions and submit for position title and costing changes to improve department staffing and efficiencies. An important cornerstone of the budget process is projecting revenues and increasing fees as appropriate. Annually, the department evaluates and forecasts revenue estimates based on historical data, fee increases, as well as expected changes to programming and participation. The citywide fee schedule is adopted annually by council during the budget process. This comprehensive document includes a categorical listing of fees such as those related to permits, facility rentals, land use and zoning, and just to name a few. And then our last and third budget deadline is March 29th, which includes agreement and contract lists and department narratives. Our agreements and contract list is just a summary of our existing or new agreements or contracts for consulting, design, or other professional services. This list is used to inform our purchasing staff that the item was approved by council during the budget process. Our department narratives are printed in the budget book and provide a quick snapshot of how department section funds are allocated and spent. It highlights any changes made from prior year's budget to document the changes. And it should be noted that these requests are still pending approval from finance and our city manager. Moving on to our capital improvement program, referred to CIPs. This still remains a vital component of our annual budget process. A separate CIP budget serves as the city's strategic capital improvement plan, depicting the total investment required for current and anticipated capital projects for the next 5 years. Our CIPs include renovations, replacements, and additions to our public facilities. The Infrastructure Oversight Board, referred to as IOB, was created to provide oversight on the expenditures for the city's infrastructure by reviewing and recommending projects to the City Council for funding. As such, the department CIP's requests will be reviewed by the IOB along with all of our other city projects requests. Annually, the department coordinates a Park and Rec board facility tour to review the department's infrastructure and maintenance needs. The purpose of the tour is to provide the board with the opportunity to visit department facilities, parks, and amenities. This is also an opportunity for the board to learn more about department programming. So during the September 21st tour, staff provided updates on completed improvements and discussed future enhancements. And in preparation for our annual CIP submission process for this upcoming fiscal year, the department evaluated the unfunded needs list, which includes playground, park and ball field lighting modernization, and shade structure replacements, to name a few. This year, the deadline to submit CIPs was scheduled for early December. At the November 9th meeting, the department introduced our submissions. And since then, the department has identified 3 additional potential projects that have been added to our department CIP submission list, which include McCambridge Pool Replacement Project. Through Assembly Member Laura Friedman, the city was awarded a $1.5 million grant for the pool replacement. The plan is to utilize these dollars for the design phase of this project. The First Street Pocket Park. The developer of the First Street Village is required to include a pocket park as part of the project. And as part of the agreement, the city is helping with the construction of the park. And please note that the developer is responsible for any ongoing maintenance of that park. And last but not least, the Dick Clark Dog Park, which we just reviewed. And based on this evening's discussion, we'll be moving forward with option B. And then proposed funding for all of these projects derives from multiple funding sources that include our development impact fees, municipal infrastructure funds, as well as grant funding. These projects were selected based on department, board, and community identified needs. This includes improving safety, general enhancements, improving efficiency, replacing outdated or worn amenities, and overall enhanced park infrastructure. And it also should be noted that not all of these proposed projects will be funded as part of the next fiscal year. And this slide is listed of all of our upcoming important dates related to the budget process. It includes information for our IOB meeting dates for the review of our CIPs, as well as city council dates dedicated to the review and approval of the budget. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Moon, for the excellent report.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good night. Next on the agenda is the Universal Department Activity Program Card Extension and Update. Ms. Sohan.
Good evening, Chair Gamino and members of the board. Paula Ohan, Senior Administrative Analyst with the Parks and Recreation Department. Tonight I'm here to provide you with a brief background to get everyone up to speed on Be Active and of course updates throughout my report since we came before the board in 2022 and the launch of Be Active on March 1st, 2023. In June of 22, staff came before the board to report on Be Active, the enhanced customer service experience leading to the one universal department activity and program card to streamline memberships and participation check-ins in the following activities and programs throughout the department. The indoor drop-in programs. This includes basketball, dodgeball, badminton, pickleball, as well as indoor volleyball, and our recently added wheelchair rugby and power chair soccer. The second is our aquatics, the membership, the annual, seasonal, and monthly memberships for the aquatics, both the pools at McCambridge and Verdugo. I would like to note that the Be Active card does not include the daily entrance to the pool, just strictly monthly, seasonal, and annual memberships. Thirdly, the BSAC card, short for Burbank Senior Activity Card. This is the membership that provides adults 55 plus discounts on programs and services at the Jocelyn Adult Center and the Don Tuttle Senior Center on activities and programs that they host there. Fourth is the Burbank Pass, short for Programs Activity Service Subsidy. That's specifically for the Burbank bus senior and disabled riders who go on the bus and travel around the town. And lastly, the Valley Skate Park. This is Be Active, would be strictly for the annual skate membership that we do there. I want to note as an update tonight is that table tennis, the games, ping pong, pool are no longer included in the Be Active drop-in. And also I'd like to note that Pass and Valley Skate Park membership transitioning into Be Active is not slated until this July of 2024. So those two will kind of come into the Be Active card sometime this year. The application for Be Active is similar to application to participate in nearly almost all of our programs that we have in our department. If you take any classes, you would be aware. Participants can go to any of the participating facilities, all of McCambridge, the Mary Alvord Recreation Center, the Jocelyn Center, to get a card, quick application, get your photo, check out, you get a card, and you're able to kind of take your card from there. You can also do it online, upload your photo, check out, come to our participating facility, and get a card issued. Prior to our March 2023 launch, we had extensive marketing and educational segments for the community to inform them about this program. This includes the facility signage that we had all around, social media updates naturally, department web pages were updated, and information was blasted through our e-newsletter that reaches over 11,000 people. Educational segments continuously on the phone if anybody called, if anybody came in the center, wanted to know more about the Be Active, constant communication and update and education on that. And of course, staff was out at various city events, department events, talking more about it. And we even gave some nice giveaways, including free swim passes as folks approached the booth to learn more about Be Active. Be Active continues to be available to all residents, all non-residents who participate in any of the aforementioned activities and programs that we offer. The fee was reduced from the 2022 report by nearly half. And so at the highest, $10 per year for a non-resident adult. It's the highest, to absolutely free for a resident youth. So when I say half, Burbank resident adult, $5 for the year. This nominal fee for the membership is just a partial offset to the administration of these activities. Like I mentioned, the badminton, pickleball, volleyball. This helps support purchase of the drop-in program equipment that we have at our centers, higher quality basketballs, nets, posts, taping of the floors to line the floors for pickleball, as well as court resurfacing, so allowing a really nice gym floor for folks to play on. This is just a partial offset of all that. After the launch on March 1st of 2023, we allowed at least a 1-month grace period for individuals to understand what Be Active really was. I think we even gave it much longer than that. We worked with the community. If you came in after March 1st, you weren't prepared for it, you didn't know more about it, we worked with everybody to get them to the point that they understood the program, they were able to register, participate, and finally get a card issued. In the first month alone after we launched, we had 131 Be Active cards were issued, so not too bad. By the third month, we had 1,038 Be Active cards issued. To date, we have 2,769 Be Active card member holders. And of those members, 1,506 are residents and 1,263 are non-residents. The goal of Be Active is to continue to enhance that customer service, essentially bringing all of those memberships, Valley Skate Park, the Aquatics Lap Swim, BSAC, bring it all under just one card for you to have. Makes it easier than carrying different cards, of course. And just really the ability to communicate pertinent information to our program participants, really learning what they enjoy doing in our department, especially when they participate in our indoor drop-in programs, and developing closer relationships with them. And I firsthand have seen when having this card, there's like a name to the face. And so when they come and they check in, that connection is there a lot more than it used to be when they can just pass through and go straight to the gym floor and we would probably not know who they are. And of course, the bigger goal is to improve our decision-making and program assessment so that we're looking at what recreation space, how we allocate recreation space to the different programs that are out there, new programs that are happening. For example, wheelchair rugby, power chair soccer, brand new. Where do we bring that in? And we look at that participation, and that's how we're able to help allocate recreation space for the different programs. We have seen it be successful thus far, but it's still a continuous kind of a program that we continue to evaluate and we're open to continue to meet these goals and objectives that we have. Staff continues to meet continuously will be continuing to meet with our frontline staff, the site supervisors, to ensure that we're evaluating Be Active, we're making the transitions that we need to, continuing to make improvements, and we're hoping in the next few months, at least up until June, we're able to do so. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the report and for putting this on the agenda. Again, I appreciate it. Board members, do you have any comments, questions? Yes, Board Member Marcillian?
So when somebody takes the card and shows up to one of the facilities and to do the programming, is it just a showing of the card, or is there an actual scan of the card to then, and the reason I'm asking that question is because you said there were, I don't remember the exact number, it was like 2,700 issued. Curious to know, out of that 2,700 issued, how many are return users? There's only like 500 being continually used and the rest just got it once and never used it again? Or what percentage of the 2,700 are actually actively, excuse my pun, actively being used?
That percentage I don't necessarily have in my report, but I can confidently say most likely there are a big percentage of those users that have, if they've gotten it once, these are the same users that would be coming to our facilities and utilizing our programs, whether it is once, but more likely than not, they would be most likely returning. I don't have an actual number unless somebody else in the room does, but I will give it to Mr. Ceballos.
To answer the first part of your question is the Be Active card. In the back of the card has a barcode. Our facilities are outfitted with barcode scanners, so they can come in and check in, and they're able to check in for an activity. And the way we're looking to build out the system robustly on the back end is to be able to say, okay, Ara came in with his Be Active card on Tuesday and did drop-in basketball. And the cadence of that is once a week, for that 3-hour program. It's twice a week. It's multiple times a week. So that's what ultimately we'd like to get the system to do. We're still refining Civic Correct to be able to give us that level of information. And once we fully implement Be Active and as Mrs. Ohan had mentioned, have the analytics to start making quantitative decisions on how we allocate space, what programs we dedicate a little bit more resources to, time to, and what programs we really should be sunsetting or transitioning into other programs. So that's really the value of, I think, the first part of your question. And so hopefully in months to come, we'll come back with more information that gives you those analytics.
If I can add to what Mr. Ceballos and what Ms. Ohan have said, there are some programs in some areas where they are scanning. I believe they do scan at the aquatic facility at Verdugo, and they do scan at Joslin Adult Center. Those are the two sites where they are actively scanning. But we have not built out all the scanning capabilities at all of our sites, but that is something that we will do and do plan to do.
Please. Oh, DePaulo, where's your hand up?
I have another question.
Go ahead. Go after you.
I know at the last meeting, I don't know, last meeting, 2 meetings, 3 meetings ago, whatever it was, there was a gentleman that came in and had issues with the card and, all the reasons that he had. So if I am a resident or a non-resident and I'm not aware of the card, that it even exists, and I just know, oh, there's drop-in basketball at McCambridge and I want to go there. So if I show up, I'm unaware, am I immediately turned away? Am I just informed that, oh, we have this, you need to sign up for this so then you can use it and you welcome back after? Like, what's the protocol for when somebody shows up so then there's not an issue where cops were called and there was, so what is that issue? I mean, what's the protocol for that kind of a situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, this enhanced customer service, which also means we're not turning people away. I think that experience, there was several conversations, and so I'm not going to touch on that because that was not the first time and the last incident. I can definitely see that. That's exactly it. They come in and they usually, if they're new, they're going to probably come to the office and to staff and kind of just wonder what to do next. And that's when we inform them about Be Active. If you're here to play basketball, if you're here to play badminton, we have a new Be Active card. The conversation begins from there. If they're not prepared to pay, if they have some questions, we're absolutely working with staff. That's what our staff does best, I would say. Customer service, they're working, they're informing, the questions go. And if they, we don't want to stop you. If you're not able to do the card today, feel free to play. When you come back, we'll catch you the next time. And we'll do that. And after a few times, maybe it's the second time they come back a few times, that is when most of the time they come back and they're like, okay, we understand, time for the card. And they're open to pay for it and get a card. Yeah, so it's not intended to do that. Naturally, the goal is to have a card so that we are doing the goal of the program is getting you to check in. We want to see the activity that you're in, resident, non-resident. We just want to know so that, again, we're able to program assess, but our goal is not to turn somebody away, to not allow them to use our facility. Definitely not.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the program, the intent of the card. I think it's great. I think the kind of decision making that it can provide on the back end, if everything's done right, I think is the right usage. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's a very, very nominal fee for 1 year. So I mean, I think it's not gonna $5 is not gonna offset much. And so I think I'm in full agreement. And I like the fact that the customer service is there. I know you guys, they wouldn't turn anyone away. And I think when somebody shows up repeatedly, staff at some point recognizes those faces and they're like, okay, like I've given you a pass a few times. I think there's just a right way to handle it. So, but I'm fully in agreement with the purpose of the card.
Thank you.
If I could just note, Crystal, who presented our announcements this evening, is a facility attendant, she is one of those staff members that works our facilities that would be engaging with our community. So those are the types of individuals or staff members that our community would be a front line. So just to give you an example of the type of customer service that you could potentially imagine that our community, the type of service that they would be getting from our staff. So just kind of making you aware of.
She's fabulous, as so many of the team members at Parks and Rec.
They really are.
They really are. Just to dovetail on that comment, though, about the $5 being affordable, there are resources available. Can you clarify that if someone cannot afford it?
Yes, thank you. I was going to add, so there we have PASS, and PASS would be able to aid in that cost, even if it's $5 for the resident. Absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying that. Mr. DiPaolo, did you have a comment?
Yeah. I hate to be negative, but the open play basketball is about as low as supervised activity as there is. And, I can see the pool. I can see Johnson Center. I can even see the volleyball program or the badminton program. But the drop-in basketball, it's a different group of people. And I don't know, I should go by the centers and see what their peak hours are and observe on my own. Sure. But you get even if you have to call the police once or twice, that's 2 times too many. And that gentleman that was here, I guess he had the police called by staff because he wouldn't leave or wouldn't pay for a pass or whatever it was, and the police showed up. Do we recall that?
Correct.
Because he's here. I think it's a confrontation like that is easily avoided. It's a drop-in program. And you do get, I would say you get probably more non-residents showing up at that. At least that was my experience. And that was a few years ago, obviously. But, we dealt with a few problems here and there just from drop-in play. And I'm like I said, the pool, going into the pool, going into Johnson Center, I'm all for that. But the $5 a year for somebody to come in and play basketball that's a resident, I'm a little negative on that. But otherwise, I think the program's well maintained. We do have good frontline people out there, which is very, very important. You have to be very patient with the people that come in there because a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. Let's be honest. and that's especially the drop-in type play. I don't think there'd be any pushback as far as the pool is born. That's part of the municipal program at the pool. It's a relatively, compared to the free play, it's a private sort of program. So.
If I can comment on your statement, then thank you, Mr. DiPaolo, for that. It's very valuable what you're saying, and we want to keep our programs accessible. For the drop-in basketball program in particular, a couple of things that we've seen is before the implementation of the program, we were seeing several fights, several altercations. We were seeing several calls to PD to come address behavior that is inconsistent with the values of the department and what's acceptable at that facility. To that end, the value that this program brings is that now we have contact information for the individual so we can hold people accountable for that behavior, right? We've established, who you are, how we can get a hold of you, so we can serve a potential suspension letter, and we can follow up with disciplinary action through our normal course of action. What we were seeing is that people were behaving, and were behaving that way with impunity, and were just leaving the facility before PD were to arrive, and we have no recourse to maybe have a phone call from a site supervisor or from a manager or from an assistant director to follow up on that behavior. And so what we have seen, because of the contact that we've made with the site supervisors, is that behavior has curbed since we've started implementing the Be Active program. That's one. On the other side of it is the liability waiver for folks getting injured during drop-in play is something that's part of this program. And so when you sign up for the Be Active program, you fill out the liability waiver and so on, which is something that we didn't have in the past. Folks were just coming on to our court. So those are a couple of items that help staff administer what we're calling a program to really keep everyone safe, to keep everybody from having an excellent experience. And then lastly is communicating to those individuals, right? So now we have their information. So if there's a planned or unplanned facility closure and folks are driving out, and particularly during that lunch hour, right? These are, folks that are in the workforce coming out using their lunch break to come and play. In the event that we have an unplanned facility closure, now we have the opportunity, because we have their contact information, to let them know that there's a planned or unplanned event happening where it can potentially impact that program. So I'm hoping that those items are of value to be able to offset the, I would call, inconvenience of coming in and filling out an application. And I think you make a really good point on the resident, non-resident front. You have that information based on kind of maybe just some empirical data or just some I haven't seen you around town, but we really want to be able to quantify how many folks are residents, how many folks are non-resident, and then start making those programmatic decisions based on, in space allocations based on those metrics.
Yeah, sure. I understand a non-resident. I think non-residents should pay more for all our offerings in the city. If they want to get the resident values and move to Burbank, I can see that. I just don't see the $5 for residents. But also, there is an assumed liability when you walk into a gym play. There's been numerous times where, and when I was working at Verdugo Park, actually, somebody sued the city and a judge threw it right out, because when you walk into that gym, nobody drug you in there to play. And if you hurt yourself, that's an assumed risk. So, but the fighting, I understand, and that's in a free play basketball, even in the open league basketball. There are incidents where people come here thinking that fighting's part of the deal, and you're right, it does happen, and it does happen more times than you care to mention, because it's just the way some people are sometimes. They're competitive, and they, have some anger issues or whatever. So, and as long as the staff do we have them out there, like let's say at McCambridge, are they actually in the office there when people walk in, they scan their cards?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you, appreciate it.
of course.
Are there any additional questions? Yes, Board Member Marsilian.
So I grew up playing basketball, pickup basketball, pretty much from when I was 9 years old until, I don't know, I was 20-something or 30-something, until I started getting injured and just said, okay, I'm going to pickleball now. And I would have been excited if there was an indoor gym to play at. So my point being, we played outdoors at the parks. I grew up in Torrance. Burbank has several beautiful basketball courts outdoor that people can play at. If they have an issue with, this is just my opinion, they have an issue with signing something, or look, there's plenty of outdoor basketball courts you're more than welcome to go to and pick up basketball as much as you want. But if you want to use our indoor gyms, which are maintained, that have beautiful courts and the staff there, look, there's a small inconvenience, and there's that $5 for residents, and I think we discussed that there's an even opportunity to offset that $5 if that's an issue, but to fill out a waiver or whatever it is, the thing, to have the privilege to play indoors on a nice court, it's just, I think it's, in full respect to what you're saying, Mickey, I think it's a small little thing to be able to play indoors. Otherwise, if you have an issue with that, go play outdoors. There's plenty of beautiful parks that we have that you can go play, and you don't have to sign anything, and have at it. So that's just my opinion on it, but
Sure. And there's, of course, I mean, we understand it all, but I think that $5, I mean, to really get what you're getting, because we do our best to provide quality everything. I mean, our staff is there setting up really nice nets and things for folks to play, and we get a lot of people because they know we have really good stuff in Burbank, and so it does feel like, I know, $5 can be $5, but it is so minimal in comparison to what you're getting for an entire year to come in unlimited access. It really, yeah. There's going to be that other side, but it has, I think, again, through staff like Ms. Karakash, who are able to kind of explain and talk through, and I think once they see it, like Mr. Maserlian, I think they've been giving, hence why we're still signing up participants.
Excellent. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you for the report.
Of course, thank you.
Very much. Okay, and now we're moving to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine by department staff and may be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the board votes on a motion to remove item from the consent calendar. Let's see what else. That's it. So on the consent calendar, we have the approval. We need to approve the minutes as submitted, and we'll be note and file the city council agenda items update, contract compliance, park patrol report, and the department operations update. Board members, do you have any item in the consent calendar that you would like to remove? Being none, can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
motion to approve.
Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ayes have it. Consent calendar is approved as is. We're moving on to tabled items. Are there any tabled items? Being none, are there any additional comments from the board? None at all. Okay. Our board member, oh, yes, Mr. DiPaolo?
I suggest to my colleagues that if they can possibly attend the adaptive play program coming up on the 17th, they're going to have a lot of areas set up outside and inside. It promises to be a really wonderful day, and something I really applaud our department for stepping up and doing. I think that's the future, and we're going to have a couple of veterans organizations there, our VFW and as many members of our Veterans Committee will be there. We'll have a table out, and hopefully a few veterans will turn out, and it's going to be a wonderful day, and it goes from 10 till 3, so it's hopefully we'll get a nice sunny day, and so I hope to see you all there.
Thank you for highlighting that, Mr. DiPaolo. That's the Burbank Adaptive Sports Expo at McCambridge Park on the 17th from 10 to 3. So thank you for those comments. Any introduction of any new items, board members? No? Okay. Then, that being said, I think I have everything that we're supposed to do. Then I would like to call this meeting to adjournment. We'll meet again on March 14th in council chambers. Yes, one more thing we should follow.
I would like to indulge the board and the staff that we adjourn this meeting in memory of Miss Pat Walmsley, who was a wonderful, wonderful lady. She loved veterans. Her son's a Vietnam veteran, and she was working for Congressman Moorhead's office when in 1988 when we got the names for the Vietnam and the Korean War memorials, and she was really a spearhead of that. And then she became a part of our committee, and her tradition of singing "God Bless America" just about every year for the past 30 years at our ceremonies, and she was truly a wonderful person, and I know where her soul is, and may she rest in peace. Thank you.
Absolutely. She had such a beautiful voice. Thank you for that, Mr. DiPaolo. We close in Miss Walmsley's name. Thank you.